From ABC, this is World News Tonight with...
Out of 500,000 American troops in the Gulf, about 75,000 are reservists, and most of those in support roles, not combat. The combat reserves are in training, and not all is well. First, morale problems at Fort Hood, Texas, where more than 60 Louisiana National Guard troops went AWOL this week, absent without leave. Here's ABC's Charlie Murphy.
Louisiana Guardsmen have been in intensive training since they went on active duty in December. Even though it was only training, they complained about low morale, poor leadership, and long hours without a break. So dozens of them packed up and went back to Louisiana without leave to spend a few days with their families.
We're just stressed out, working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Morale's real low.
It's not a matter of like a revolt or anything. All we want is just a little bit of time out to ourselves.
The men said their company commander, a deputy sheriff in Shreveport in civilian life, had set a poor example of leadership. While they trained in tanks, they said he went hunting.
He come up one day, we were broke down out there, asked us, y'all seen any deer around here? No.
Another soldier who did not go AWOL said the Guard was poorly trained before it was called up.
The National Guard wasn't prepared for this. They weren't prepared at all. A lot of these guys, a lot of the training that's supposedly going on has just been, done in the office. They say, okay, all these guys had all these classes, they did all this stuff, and it actually hadn't been going on.
Some of those who had gone AWOL are already coming back to Fort Hood. The brigade commander didn't say what punishment, if any, they faced. He defended the training program.
The training that we're doing is very intensive, very difficult, physically demanding, stressful training. But that's what combat's like.
The general said he'll look into their complaints, but he said he was embarrassed by the whole business. Charles Murphy, ABC News, Dallas.
More on the Guard and this question of readiness. The chairman of the House Armed Services Committee, Les Aspin, has said the Gulf War would provide a laboratory test of whether reserve units are fully capable of combat. As ABC's Dennis Choate reports, the 1st National Guard Brigade called to active combat duty is still a long way from the battlefield.
For years, the Pentagon has insisted that combat reserves would be ready for the front lines within several weeks of being activated. Georgia's 48th Brigade was called up at the end of November, but is still training in California. Pentagon officials say there's been no decision about whether the soldiers of the 48th will go to the Gulf, but they're scheduled for more training until at least April. Army officials in California have told the Guardsmen they cannot handle their tanks and guns well enough, and their command staff is inefficient. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff told Congress today he doubted whether reservists get enough practice in their spare time to go into combat.
I think we have to examine this very objectively with respect to those units and come out with the right answer as to what we actually can expect a large combat unit such as that to be able to accomplish in 39 days of training.
The issue is critical because half of the Army's combat troops are reservists. The Army has spent $10 billion on training and equipment for them.
The idea was that having fewer full-time soldiers would leave more money for weapons systems. While some reserves have gone to the Gulf, the Pentagon's reliance on part-time soldiers is sure to be called into question if its big combat reserve brigades never do any more than practice. Dennis Trout, ABC News, the Pentagon.